Namaste, everybody. It's a pleasure to be in front of you again. And this time we bring the topic of medicinal forms in Ayurveda and their features. Now, there are two words in this title that I would like to elaborate a little bit to get into the depth of the topic. So, one is the medicine, and the other one is Ayurveda. So, Ayurveda, as you all know, is one of the oldest systems of health and medicine. So, when I say it is a system of health and medicine, it is first a system of health. In the sense, it looks at a person, or it looks at everything in a very holistic manner and defines health and what is ill health. So unless you have a definition of health, you can't have a definition of ill health or medicine. And so health is defined as a comfortable state, and ill health or disease is anything that can cause a kind of discomfort. So discomfort, on whatever scale it is a disease or ill health, and health in every scale is a comfortable or proper working mode of that particular system. So this is the definition of health and ill health. And so anything that addresses these discomfort is a medicine. And hence medicines can also occur in various forms. See, when we speak of discomfort, there are diseases and there's fear of diseases. There is ill health and fear of ill health. And many times, fear of ill health can also supersede the discomfort that the ill health itself could cause. And this was very much evident if you remember the times of Corona days, 2020. And so this fear of disease is termed as bhesha. So this term here, bhesha, refers to the fear of diseases or fear of discomfort. And the one that addresses the fear of discomfort or ill health, along with addressing the disease itself, is BhaiShajya. So BhaiShajya is something that addresses both the fear of the ill health as well as the condition of the ill health. And hence, the course we'll be having very shortly, and all of the forms of medicine, the preparation, and basically the kitchen pharmacy that you can have, is termed as BhaiShajya kalpana. BhaiShajya comes from BhaiShajya. So, in whatever remedies that you prepare that can address the disease and as well as its fear, that is the prevention of an uncomfortable situation, ill health, and curative aspect of the disease, both is addressed with BhaiShajya kalpana. So the fear is purely psychological. The discomfort has two parts. One is the physiological as well as the psychological. In a sense, the disease has two aspects. The actual pathology that runs in the body is one part of it, and the perception that you have about the pathological condition itself is the second part of a disease. So disease has two impacts, whereas the fear of this disease is totally in the mind. So it is evident and very necessary that we address the mind along with the body. And there is so much about the mental health these days, but Ayurveda many millennia ago itself addressed this factor. And the first and foremost thing that is to be done when you're discussing about medicine is to address the mind. And so the medicines are very broadly categorized into three aspects. One is Daiva Vyapashraya, which is mostly addressing the mind. The third is Sattva-Vajaya, that is 100% addressing the mind. And only one part of it is Yukti Vyapashraya, which includes diet, lifestyle, and the therapeutical formulations. So there are various types of people, and the psyche occurs also in different forms. Minds are of different types, and that is why you have all sorts of methods that can comfort a person, or that can build build comfort in the mind of a person. So in the Daiva Vyapashraya, you would have mantras and crystals and gems, rituals, restrictions, fasting, and all of those things that can evoke faith. And on the other side, Sattva-Vijaya, it is in those people who already have a very strong faith, and you instill more of more of reasoning and rational and information and analytics into this faithful mind. So one is to build the faith, the other one is to rationalize it. So these are two different ends of the same line. So in between is something that you can do in the everyday life for the physical being. And that includes diet, lifestyle, therapies, formulations, which are all given to the discomfort or correction of the functioning of the body, and for correction of the discomfort that you have. And among the therapies and formulations are the ones that we, for our convenience, call as medicines. The ones that are formed in a particular given in a particular presentation, and we take it in those particular situations when we are going through certain physical conditions. And these medicines are also of two types: one that are given through the oral route, and the other ones that could be applied on the body. Among those that goes through the oral route, we again have medicinal foods, and then there are specific medicines or aushadha. Among the ones that goes through the oral route as well, we have again two types. One is the medicinal foods, that is pathya, and the other is the aushadha, which are specific formulations that can be given in specific conditions. So when we look into the aushadhas, you can see that in Ayurveda we practically use every form of source. It could be the plant source, and the plant source can come from anywhere: root, stem, leaves, bark, flowers, fruits, seed, latex, resin, and even including the ash. And most of the plant sourced products would come in the form of churna or powders, in the form of tablets, in the form of kvathas or decoctions, in the form of oils and ghritas, and also among the ferments. Among the animal source, there's practically every aspect of animals, of all sorts: animals, birds, insects, everything taken into consideration. So you would have honey, milk, there could be blood or fat or sperms and eggs, bile, organs, even the excreta, horn, nail, feathers. Practically any part of the animal or the insect or the bird or the fish, anything is taken. And these, depending upon the suitability, would be also given as is, as in fresh, like honey or milk, or it could be converted into ash, or it could be converted into different forms of fats, or many more, depending upon what is the most suitable thing for that particular substance. Minerals and metals, gems and crystals, the salts, sand, mud, the natural asphalt, charcoal, ash, and so on. And some of these could be given in as directly available, like salt or some of the metals, or they could be converted into oxides or sulfides, and there could be some other depending upon what the substance is. So I'm giving you this picture is just so that you know the extent of Ayurvedic pharmacy. So we can never just come down to have a small picture of it, that it uses only substances coming from herbs. No, it is a very large picture, and anything and everything that can be possibly available, naturally exist in this universe, is used as a medicine as well. And purifying these substances and doing so many procedures to these substances, Ayurveda has brought down so many different forms of medicines, either in fresh form or in processed form. And here is a very general consolidated table of these forms of medicines. So among the fresh ones, we have 5 basic preparations, that is Swarasa, Kalka, Kwatha, Hima, and Fanta. That is basically the express juice, paste, decoction, and cold and hot infusions. Among the processed ones that are a little more complex, now this is just for convenience. I have tabled it in this form. That is the dry form, liquid form, and other forms. So among the dry forms, we have the churnas, the tablets, bhasmas. Then there are vati that are a little larger than tablet, but then it is used usually for application, external applications. You have the salts and all of the things that can come from mineral medicine, that is rasakalpa, metal sulfides and amalgams and so on. You have the guggulu kalpa, that is anything that is prepared out of resins of a plant, and some other miscellaneous type of formulations like bhavita dravya. And you have masi, or the carbonized crystals, and pishti. It is also a different type of formulation. Among the liquids, you have kashayas or decoctions, kshirapaka, and many other varieties of teas and decoctions. You have the fermented substances like asava-arishta and vinegars as well, some forms of vinegars and various alcoholic preparations. You have the syrups, you have the arka or the distillates, sneha kalpa, that is like oils and ghee and other fats. You also have emulsions, colloids, suspensions, these type of formulations. And you have liquid alkali preparation, and you also have a very unique type of ion charged or metal charged ferment preparations. And there are other forms. There are actually many that could be included in this title. Avleha, or the jams and ointments, and lepa, that is paste. Guda and sharkara, again granules, lozenges, and kshara, that could be taken internally or applied externally. We have dhriti, that is liquefied minerals and stones. You have kshara sutra, or the cautery threads, and we also have dhupa, or the medicinal smoke. So there could be many included, or rather I have included only the most popular ones, or that could be that is repeated mostly. There could be more miscellaneous substances. So you see, there are so many, 30 itself in this slide itself, and there could be a few more. And we can also go into subdivisions of all of these classifications again and again. So there are so many varieties of formulations, and I'm glad to say that we will be discussing most of the, or rather, the possible ones that you can make at home in our course. We'll be addressing at least majority of all of these categories. And I just want to say that, it is a very vast topic. And these many forms exist because the application changes. Give one substance and you can make it into different forms depending upon the suitability, the criteria, and the criteria of selection and application. We will discuss those criteria in the coming slides. So you see, fundamentally, all of these would vary depending upon their base and carriers. So the base could be water, as in case of kwatha and teas. The base could be alcohol, as in case of asava-arishta and shukta. Base could be a lipid, for example, ghrita, taila, and any of the mixed substances. We would use volatile compounds as the base or the carrier in case of arka, in case of dhuma, and in case of anything that is given for the fragrance purpose. And this has gandha has got a very varied application in different forms. Among the dry base, we have churna or vati or bhasma. And we can use honey as the prime carrier, as in case of bhasma, or you can have a mixed carrier or base, like lipid, water, honey, everything mixed together in case of avleha. It is exceptionally sugar-based, as in case of syrups and some of the tablets. Sugar in the sense, not just the refined sugar, it could be base sugar and including jaggery. And salt as base and carrier in all of the lavanakalpas. So there is a huge range of bases and carriers, and this is essential for us to remember, because the features would a feature of the medicine would base or would depend upon the base and carrier. So when it is alcohol as the base or as the carrier, you can expect a very instantaneous action as compared to water-based or lipid-based. When you want it to be a slow release, long-acting substance, and safer for a very prolonged period of time, then you pick lipid as the base or go for a mixed base.
So could you please tell me, base and carrier, are those the same or are those different?
They are different, actually. Base is the one which makes the bulk of your medicine. It can also be a carrier, but base is the one which will make the bulk. Carrier is the one which is specifically given in a way or which is specifically utilized for the purpose of its carrying. So if it has to reach a particular target organ, then you would select a particular carrier. Say, for example, in case of gandha. So you want it to be in that particular form, like in case of aromatherapy oils, you want it to be volatile, and you want the target organ is the nose. So you specifically utilize it in that particular form. That is the carrier there.
Okay.
So the fragrance is the carrier of your medicine, and it has to reach the nose and the nervous system directly or activate the brain. So to differentiate between base and carrier, base is the one where your medicine, it is the one that contains the medicine. Carrier is the one which is either mixed later on or is used for the purpose of carrying the medicine to a particular target. At times, base and carrier could be one and the same, as in case of all of the alcohol substances. The base is alcohol and carrier is also the alcohol. Whereas it is different as in case of bhasma, or it is different as in case of anything that is dry. So there is a base. Bhasma itself is the base. It is mixed with the carrier. Honey is the carrier here. So this decides how quickly the bhasma will get distributed, absorbed, and to where it goes. So and carriers will also specifically used as per the target organs. So the base, the mixture, as well as the carrier are all decided depending upon these particular actions of that particular substance. There is a primary action for a formulation or a herb. It is herb or a substance. It is mixed with other substances either to achieve an additive effect, or other substances could be added to your formulation for its catalytic action. That is, a catalyst is something that enhances the action of your substance, the initial substance. And synergistic effect is a very special form of additive effect. Say additive is 2 plus 2 is 4. That is additive effect. Synergistic is when 2 plus 2 becomes 10. So it enhances in a much more unexpected or extremely increased manner. Antagonistic is something that stops your or that controls or stops your primary substance from doing certain action. So say you are making a purgative formulation, something that will cause a kind of diarrhea, and you will add an antagonistic substance to it so that the diarrhea is not uncontrolled, it is controlled. And there are inhibitors which can be partially blocking. So say your primary substance has got two effects, and you add a particular inhibitor to block one of the effect. So that is inhibitor. Give the example of Triphala. I think all of you are aware of the Triphala, which is a combination of three substances. And three of them have very distinct individual actions, and they are mixed together in various proportions to give a certain synergistic effect. And this combination is called Triphala. That is working in Triphala. There is a bit of antagonistic inhibitory action. There is a bit of synergy as well. So Triphala is a great example of how one herb or one substance balances off the other one, and the other substances synergistically improves the activity of one. So there are three in different proportions. They all can give you different results, and it also depends upon with what what type of carrier you would use. You can mix it, you can give it as is. You can give it with salt, you can give it with warm water, you can give it with honey, you can give it with ghee, or mix honey and ghee both together. Or you can put it along with other kwathas or anything else as well. So it is not just in the formula itself, it is in all of these things that you can derive the action. And the type of formulation would also depend on the purpose. As I said, for an instant action, you would either choose alcoholic preparation, or you would use honey as a carrier for bhasma. That gives a very instantaneous result as well. For slow release, you would choose dry forms or even lipid forms. For the target areas again, say for example, you want to give it to the throat. You can choose churna, you can choose lozenges, or you can use certain syrups which can stick here and stay here for a long time. Although lipids are sticky, you wouldn't choose ghee or oil as something that would help in healing the throat, when target organ is throat. You would rather use something which is more penetrative. Ghee would be used only when there is extreme dryness, otherwise that may not be the choice. So you see, it depends upon the requirement and area that is your target, and also the nature of the substance. It will also depend upon the route that is used. So I'll give you the example of routes in the next one. But say, are you giving it through the nose, or are you giving it through the mouth, or will it go into the eyes or ears, or through basti, and so on. And then there is mode of dosage. Say, for example, are you mixing it with food, giving it before food, after food? How do you want to give it? In between two meals? How do you want to give it? And This mode of dosage will also depend upon the target areas, will depend upon the prakriti of the person, age of the person, and the type of the disease. And then it will also depend upon the quantity of the medicine that you want to give. Now, this may seem funny, but it is very important. Say you can give 5 grams of churna. You can't give 5 grams of bhasma. When you want the bulk, you want to give it in a form that that is suitable for the bulk. Sometimes bulk is necessary. Sometimes bulk is not necessary, and at that time you give it in other forms where it can be more concentrated and bulk is not necessary. Why bulk is necessary at times? Because if you want it to work on the digestive tract from the point of entry, that is in the mouth, that it should soak the saliva, that it should stimulate your whole of the digestive system by working on how the kind of taste it builds in the mouth and the kind of perception it builds in your mind. So all of these, whichever is based on the taste, all of those effects needs a certain time in the mouth, and then you need bulk as well. So there is so much of deeper science in deciding the formulation. When deciding the form can depend upon all of these, like the availability of the raw materials. Will decide if you can give it in a fresh form or should it be processed. Suitability to the patient. So is the person, like the patient, what is the age of the person? So in young children, you cannot give certain substances. It may be difficult to give certain substances in case, say, do they have teeth or no, or what is the digestive system's capacity, and so on and so forth. So suitability to the patient. Appropriate for the particular illness or not. So if there is poor digestion, you cannot give avaleha or grita or tela. So say, just giving an example of how appropriate or inappropriate it can be in certain disease or illness. Acceptability and palatability. Now, this is also very important because when it is a long-term thing, first of all, it should be more acceptable for the person's prakriti, and also the person should be able to take it, accept it from the mind, as well as physically acceptable. And it will also decide as well as be decided by the potency of the medicine that we are using. So that form can decide the potency, and form can also be decided by the potency of the medicine. And form is also for the purpose of preservation. As I said earlier, when the fresh raw materials are not available, then you would go into various forms of preserved substances for the sake of preservation itself. So the formulation could serve various purposes, and preservation is also one of those. And as I said earlier, these are the roots of the medicine. So through mouth, through nose, through eyes, ears, skin, could be urethra, it could be rectum, it could be vagina, or even through the blood. And these medicines could be absorbed directly on the skin or through the mucosa or through the blood, or it could go through the longer route, that is, go through the digestive process and then get absorbed into the blood and then reach the organ, or go via the respiration, then get absorbed to the blood. So there are so many ways for the entry of the medicine to the body. So you see formulations, and the applications has got so many criteria. And that is why I did not go into individual formulation, because that itself can run more than 50 to 70 varieties of formulation. We'll be discussing most of those, whichever are, whichever you can make, or which are all possible, popular All of those are discussed in the course, and every feature, applicability are all discussed in the course. Here I'm giving you the whole bigger picture and telling you about the general applicability and what are the criteria, because we had only 1.5 hours, and this is all we can cover in that. I'll also take questions now. So basically, I would like to say that the Bhishak, or the person who can treat the illness, is the one who knows the when and what and why and how of any substance and for whom it can be given. You can transform it to any type if you know these criteria. So any herb or any source you can use in any way to make it suitable for the person and for the purpose. That is what you have to know. So the first one is, in what cases are churnas prescribed, in what cases kvata and ghrita, taila and so on. So as I said, churna is dry, kvata is water-based, ghrita and taila are lipid-based. Ghrita is cooling, taila is warm. When you need a penetrating action of the same substance, use taila. When you need a soothing healing action of the same substance, use ghrita. When you need action in the digestive system and overall a little quicker action, then use kvata of the same substance. Like say for example, triphala churna you would use when you use a local action, when you need a local action. Kvata you would use when you need a systemic action, fairly quicker, but also the action would also be a short time. Ghrita, triphala ghrita you would use when you need a surface action, that is healing on the surface, and when you need a prolonged action, you're planning to give it for a longer time so that it penetrates into every cell. Triphala taila you would use when you need a penetrating warm action. So that is the difference. And there will be some of those where I would need to explain more, so that I will say. The next one here is about the salt, recommendation for using salt. See, if you need the detailed description of this, then I have it in the Ahara Kalpana course, but I can answer very shortly. See, when the Himalayan pink salt or the rock salt is used, it is very mild. So in case of hypertension, you could use that. Iodized salt will always be more tikshna in form, and similar with the sea salt. So sea salt is tikshna, and it can sort of increase the heat in the blood and also all of the body. So if you're going through, or if any person is going through any kind of inflammatory process, then sea salt is not ideal. Iodized salt is particularly useful if you're living in a low iodine place, and also if pitta is low and digestion in general is low. If digestion or your agni is tikshna and pitta is also very high, then iodized salt may not be the best thing. Go for. And the next one, what base should be used for external therapy for atherosclerosis and varicose veins of legs? So when you're using in external therapy, it is usually Ghrita or Taila. And when you want a local absorption to strengthen, it is always Taila. If you need, if at all there is an inflammatory condition which should be which needs more soothing effect and healing effect, then you would use Ghrita. Like say if there is a wound, use Ghrita. But if there is a slough in the wound, then use Taila, because Taila has got more penetrating and cleansing action, whereas Ghrita has got more building, nourishing and healing action. In which form do herbs have a stronger effect, if they are taken in dry forms or as decoctions? And will the constitution change the nature of administration? the fresh forms, all of the fresh forms, when you make it when it is freshly prepared, the herbs are more potent, and or the action is more potent. Expressed juice is the most potent form of all of the medicines, but it will also depend upon the agni of the person to digest it. So freshly expressed juice is the most potent form of medicine in all of the categories of medicine, as long as the person is fit for it. So anything that you add more water becomes more dilute, but also will increase the absorption. Anything for which you add more heat will become more and more concentrated, and yeah, at times it will become more heavy for digestion also. At times you can reduce dose with that. So it is easier on digestion most of the times when you add more and more heat. And yes, it will also depend upon the prakriti, but that can be managed when you make the formulation. So you don't need to choose the particular form based on the prakriti, but rather your formulation would be based on the prakriti. So yeah, the one that I've left here is, on what basis should I make a composition for long-term constipation in elderly while taking tablets of senna, ghee, taila helps, and what should I add to the composition for the sluggish intestine? See, this is a very specific question on a specific person. So you have generally covered most of the things here, but if we are working with specifics, then I would need more details to answer this. I'm skipping these two topics or questions about mantras, because let us focus on the formulation specifically. If we are speaking of mantras, then we'll come back with another session for that. And same with the practice to reduce fear. I think I've already covered those in the slide. Now, next is, can long-term constipation in elderly affect memory and cognitive impairment, or is it just one of the factors? Well, important factors which can add in synergy to other, or it can double the effect of other existing factors for cognitive impairment. So constipation, when you mean constipation, I'm taking it as the person is not evacuating at least once in 3 days. If it is not every day, it's okay. If it is once in 2 days or once in 3 days, is also manageable. But say some people do not go to the toilet for 5 days or 6 days, that will definitely enhance the deterioration and cause cognitive impairment. Did we leave anything in between? No, right? Yeah. So is it possible to oil the body with ghee? Ghee application would have specific indication, as I said, for Pitta Prakriti only, and it is done only in limited specific indications only. The next is if we can drink squeezed pomegranate juice. If you're drinking just about 20-30 ml, you can drink it directly. If you're drinking in larger quantity, it is better to dilute. Because pomegranate juice is also saraka, that is, it can cause a bit of diarrhea. You don't want to have a whole cup of pomegranate juice and take diarrhea from it. So better to dilute it with water and add some amount of sweetness to it. I think we are already time up here. And there are many specific questions like what to use for cartilage tissue dysplasia, or how much of loza churna to use. All of those are disease details, and we need more details to answer or give this type of treatment-based answers, you see, because this is not over the counter. It needs more evaluation, you know that. And because it needs so much of consideration and evaluation, that is the reason why it is so effective. If it is general rule for everyone the same without any consideration, then there is no uniqueness of it. So you appreciate this science for its customized application and uniqueness, and that is why we need to go into more details about it. So we have this BhaiShajya Kalpana course, and we discuss so many details with examples, and in that I have detailed about how to prepare each and every type of formulation, given many examples as well, and they're simple. You can make them at home, most of those. So I invite you to join the course, and I think it will be useful. I put my heart to it, so I hope that it will be of benefit to you. So I welcome you to the course. All right, see you then. See you in the course. Thank you everybody for helping with translation.
Ah, that's just my job. Thank you for the presentation. Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Bye. Namaste.